Welcome to the Staffing Playbook podcast, your go-to resource for navigating the dynamic world of staffing and HR. I'm your host, Stephen Farrell. Join me each week as we dive deep into the strategies, insights, and stories that shape the staffing industry. From the latest trends to expert interviews and practical tips, we'll equip you with the right tools and knowledge to succeed in the staffing industry. Whether you're a seasoned professional or just starting out, the Staffing Playbook is here to help you play your best game. Let's get started.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Welcome to episode 4 of the Staffing Playbook podcast. I am your host, Stephen Farrell, and I have a special guest that's joining us today, Genevieve Bourgeois. I slaughter your last name every time.
Bourgeois.
Genevieve is an integrated marketing manager for Your Employment Solutions. And today our topic is the 4 Ps of staffing from a marketing perspective. So Genevieve is going to introduce herself and tell us a little bit about the 4 Ps in marketing. And then we're going to pivot into the 4 Ps of staffing. So this is an exciting episode. If you're an HR manager, HR leader, a people leader, or a job seeker, you're going to want to tune in. So we are excited to have you today, Genevieve. Why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself and the topic for today's show?
All right. Well, thank you so very much for having me on. We've wanted to do this for a long time, so I had to jump at the opportunity. So, all right. When it comes into marketing, one of the basic 4 principles, okay, it's your 4 Ps. You have your product, you have your price, place, and promotion, right?
That's right.
So it's pretty simple, pretty easy to kind of go and digest. However, people aren't a product. All right. And so when you first approached me about this, I was like, okay. And I was thinking about it, and we talked about a bunch of different topics, but I actually was out in my garden. I was thinking about it, and I was like, you know what? I got to go back to core principles. What is my why? Why am I in staffing? Right?
Yes.
What fuels my soul about staffing? Why am I energized every single day? It's because of the people.
Yeah.
A little bit about my background. I come from a strong hospitality background. So a lot of this actually ties into my core, just beliefs and passions. So when it comes to staffing, it is people, passion, purpose, and placement.
Yeah, that's fascinating. You know, you and I have worked together in the past. This is something we wanted to do a show together. And you mentioned finding your why. You know, you come from the hospitality background. I come from similar background, retail, and it really is all about the people. And if you don't have your why, Simon Sinek says, don't start with the what or the how, start with the why, then the what, then the how. And we'll definitely, I know you and I are going to share our stories of how we found our why in staffing. But I was really interested about this topic because I understand the 4 Ps of marketing, and I never quite put together the 4 Ps of staffing like you are going to share with us today. But you're right. It starts with people. I think that's number 1, right? Is people.
Mm-hmm. We're in the business of people. And when you think about it, we have like 2 sides to one coin. Okay. We have our clients who are people. All right. And then we have our candidates, our talent, who are also people. they both matter in very different ways. And if you don't create a full 360 circle with them, what happens?
Yeah.
It won't work out. You got to make sure your people are happy on both sides.
Yeah, it's, people, we're in the business of people and relationships, and traditional staffing, you just think, okay, I got a role that I need to fill, I've got a person to fill it, and that's all great and dandy, but there's a lot more nuances to just, hey, I've got a job and I've got a person.
Yeah, I mean, and honestly, if you don't have the right person with the right placement, that's turnover. It's just not going to work out. And at the end of the day, that's a loss of time. That's a loss of energy. And then unhappy, unhappy candidates, unhappy talent who are like, oh, I don't want to do this because look at what happened last time. And then you have an unhappy client. And so that's where you've got to find the right people, match them up with the right role. It's a full circle, but you've got to be passionate about what you do, and you have to figure out the purpose of why we're doing it.
Yeah.
And a lot of the time, like, I know you and I, we both gotten calls from clients being like, I need these people within this amount of time. It's like, okay, Mr. Client, we're gonna do our best. However, we want to provide the perfect person, not just any person.
That's right. Do you want the right person for the right role that you can count on long term? Or are you just looking to check a box and say, I've got that position taken care of, and then, we rinse and repeat a week later? And, I really get bothered by, when I talk to colleagues in our industry about what we do. And, I've heard terms like, hey, we've got inventory, right? We've got this great inventory for you. And it completely removes the people out of that equation. And people often complain, in these large organizations that they feel like they're just a number, right?
Oh yeah, no. And I remember there was one time many, many years ago with a previous company, and they referred to people as inventory, and my gut turned just in disgust.
Yeah.
And it actually still angers me. And it's like, no, I know what it's like to be a cog in the wheel. I think you probably do as well.
Yep.
But we actually have the ability to impact people in a positive way where we can create stability and consistency in their life. And I've heard so many stories about, hey, no, when I first started off, I was living out of a Motel 6, right? And they were just looking for good, consistent work, knowing where their next paycheck's going to come from. We all have very different backgrounds. We're all cut from very different cloth. However, being able to provide consistency, paycheck, just all of that. And then we create all of that. And the next thing you know, they come to the office and they're holding a set of keys in their hand because they just bought their first house. And it's a beautiful thing. I'm I'm so passionate about, because we actually have the ability to impact people's lives in a very positive way. Oh, hey, you're new to the city. Oh, you're looking for a job. Hey, perfect. We can get them to work immediately. Or if they need to transfer out somewhere, we can go and call up and be like, here, we actually have this location available in this position. Let's make an introduction. That way they consistently rely on us and know that we're working for them.
That's right. I love hearing the stories from colleagues of, a gentleman came in, he didn't tell anybody up front that he's living out of his car, right? And we got him a job. It was the right fit. He just wanted a chance. Like, let me prove to you what I can do. And to have that individual come in 6 months later and say, hey, just so you know, I got promoted to a line lead, really excited about it. And what I didn't tell you when I came through your door is I was homeless. I was living out of my car, and now I've got keys to an apartment. I'm settled in, and I'm starting to add a little to my savings, and it's completely changed my life. Like, thank you guys. And it's like, we only hear that a few times, throughout the year, because a lot of individuals just, they just keep it to themselves. But when we hear those stories, it just fuels that fire for a long time.
Mhm.
Now, Genevieve, this is the staffing playbook. So let's get into the playbook. Let's get into the meat of it. So when it comes to people, I think it'd be great to start off with understanding our clients' needs as well as our candidates' needs. What can you explain our approach to understanding the needs of both clients and our candidates?
Okay. So a lot of that, it actually is one of those things when it comes to our clients, we need to think about what are their requirements, what is their culture, and what are they actually looking for? Okay.
Right.
What are they looking for and how can we help them grow? Right. So we've got to understand what they're looking for because they may say one thing, but need something else. Right. So that's where building that relationship and figuring out it's like, hey, let's have a customized solution. I hear you saying this, but in the undertone, this is what I'm really hearing.
Yeah.
How about the solution? Okay. And that's where like just really trying to benefit the client because they are what again? They are people.
They're people.
They're people. They matter. All right. So that's where it really comes into play on the client end, right? But when it
Yeah.
comes to like the candidate, you got to go and think about, what is their skill set? What are their hours of availability? What attributes do they have? What are the things that really matter most to them? And then on top of that, it's like, what type of culture are they looking for?
Right. There's an alignment of a value system. Yeah, I met with a new customer recently, and I asked for the job descriptions, the pay rates, the shifts, the hiring requirements, all of that, right? But I also asked for a copy of their mission statement, their vision, their values. I wanted a copy of all of that because I want to make sure the people that we hire not only fit the requirements from a working standpoint, but are they a cultural fit? Do we have shared values here? Because that is more important than just the skill set, is those shared values.
Mm-hmm.
And, it was really validating to see the client go like, wow, like normally agencies don't ask for our values and our mission statement and our vision. That's different. And it's crucial when you're trying to find the right candidate. You have to have values that are aligned with the organizations that you're going to place them at.
I mean, even think about it like for yourself, okay? When you're looking for a new role or a new position, I honestly 100% like just like marketing, staffing tip, okay? Look into the company, find their mission statement, find their values, learn about their company culture because sometimes it may look great on paper, but it's really not. And a lot of it's actually already pre-written.
Right.
It's all out there. So
Yeah.
good
It's
little.
one thing to have a vision statement and values, posted on your wall. It's another to live it. And, when you're looking out for the best interests of your candidates, you need to validate that culture is alive and well, but before you go and sell it, because you're just setting up that person for a big disappointment when on paper values align, but that individual comes in, starts their first day, and they're completely shocked that those values are no longer there.
Yeah. And a big part of our matching process, it actually all is managing expectations, like of ourselves and of others. And when I say that, it's like, okay, you're looking at the company culture, how it's going to align, how this is going to work here, how it's going to work over there. But we really have to be very considerate of how they're going to mesh, how they're going to blend in,
Yeah,
who's going to fit what need.
that's right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I've seen people struggle with like you've got an individual that doesn't quite fit all of the cultural expectations, but they have just this uniqueness to them that we need to be on the lookout for. There's some candidates that come through that can actually add to the culture and make it better with their unique skill sets and their unique experiences and what they're deep down, what is their why. And you have to learn to be able to articulate that to a customer and be like, hey, this is somebody that is has a value system that is just unbreakable, right?
Oh,
You're going to want to get to know this individual.
and that's where and why, like, honestly, this is why, like, recruiters, like a good recruiter, they will get to know the individual. It's like, I would love to go in here, like, what's your favorite color? You have kids?
Yeah.
Okay, what's this? And like, oh, okay. And like actually get to know them and like really actually like support them and engage with them. Even though there were times like in the past, I had someone go and be like, you know what? I really appreciate everything that you did. Unfortunately, I did get this really amazing opportunity over here. And then guess what? 6 months later, guess who they would call back? Because it was a bad cultural fit. And they're like, I don't want anyone else calling me. I know you're going to find me the perfect position.
That's right.
And so that's where it's really relationship building. It's about engaging and really getting to know people.
Yeah, and you can't do that in a 3-minute interview.
No.
I don't care if you have one position or 100 positions that you're filling in any capacity. You've got to take the time to get to know that individual and allow them to take the time to get to know you and the company.
Oh, 100%.
That extra 10 minutes will save you hours, days, and weeks of trying to backfill that individual.
Mm-hmm. And frustration.
And frustration.
Oh, no, honestly, it really will. And that's where like people really matter. And this is where it's like honestly adding a personal touch, which is something that you and I, we've known each other for several years. Adding that personal touch, it does make a difference in really just developing relationships and watching them grow for success.
Yeah. Yeah. And so I want to move into when it comes to people, the candidate experience. You know, how do we engage and support individuals, you know, at the candidate level to the customer throughout this process? And what kind of feedback would you offer?
Okay, well, when it comes to this type of process, obviously, you know, someone they're applying, right? And then it's like, hi, Mr. Candidate. How are you today? Honestly, you got to engage. Like, we have more success rates, like smiling and giving them a call. Invite them into the office. Get to know them. Set up a time that works up like for them and with you.
Yeah.
You know? Take the time to get to know them. Like I said, it's like, okay, hey, what's your favorite color? I don't know, like Buddy the Elf. Buddy the Elf, what's your favorite color? Okay, like sometimes like you got to put in your personality and just actually just be genuine. And then even go and talk about like, hey, so even if they applied for one specific role and then you found out that they have this other skill set, it's like, I know that you applied to X, Y, and Z jobs, but I actually have something else I think you're a little bit better for. Do you mind if we talk about it? And be like, here at ABC Jobs, this is what the position is. And because you have a background in X, Y, and Z, or, you know, it's like, actually, I think that this would be a better fit. Now I can go and submit you to both if that's what you would like, but I want you to think about it. And if you have any questions, I am more than happy to either find out or answer.
It's kind of funny, but it's not. It's like we call it an interview, right? But often it's a checklist, and it's like, let's get back to doing an interview, right? That's where you're discovering, hey, maybe they're a better fit for a different role that they didn't apply for or didn't even know about. But because you're interviewing them, you're getting to know them, you're really understanding what, you know, their experience, their passion, and their value system, and you get closely aligned versus like, here's a checklist. Do you check 8 out of the 10 boxes? Great.
Oh, 100%. And actually, recently I was talking to one of my friends. They were interviewing for a job. They told me it was the worst experience that they had with a recruiter ever. And do you know what? It was like, okay, what's your name? What's this? Okay, all right, we're done. There was nothing about trying to get to know them. And like, they immediately gave me a call after their interview because I was It's like, I'm going to pump you up. I'm going to hype you up. They gave me a call and they're like, that was the worst experience ever.
Yeah.
They're like, I never want to go and even try to apply for that type of job or anything that this staffing agency has to do with it, because they were just checking boxes.
That's right. And this emerging workforce, they care about what companies represent and what their value systems are and what their vision is. It's not just about a job and a paycheck to this emerging workforce. It matters to them who they work for, and as a company that's interviewing individuals, you have to remind yourself of that. You're not just interviewing them; they are interviewing you as well.
Oh,
and you want that. You want that to be the case.
100%. And one of the things, if you're ever interviewing, it's like always have questions lined up. Okay. Because I think so many people, when they are an applicant, they forget that they are also interviewing. Okay. They're also interviewing the company to see if it's going to be a good fit for them. And
That's
so,
right.
Yeah. That's
So
why
as an applicant, right, you need to come prepared to also interview the company you're interviewing for.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah. All right. Well, anything else you want to hit on with people before we move into passion?
I don't know. Anything else you want to ask me about?
Because I've worked with you, it's just people do matter. Your colleagues matter, and it's so neat when you're part of an organization where people truly matter at all levels of the organization. And so, if you have a turnover problem, look at your people. Start there. Start with yourself. If you're in that leadership role where you're responsible for some of these people, maybe it starts right here with you.
Yeah. And I mean, I've had to deal with it in the past. And sometimes you have to go and look internally, like in the business and yourself, and really question. It's like, okay, what is the consistent theme of what's happening here? And sometimes it could be one player. Sometimes you got to rewrite the playbook.
That's very true. All right, so let's move on to passion. Passion is something that's going to drive both recruiters and candidates towards a successful placement. So tell me a little bit about, what does passion mean to you, and what does it mean to connect people with the right opportunities and help influence those daily operations?
Okay. So for me, like passion, it gets back to like just fueling your soul. All right. And obviously I'm very, very enthusiastic about this. And when it comes to staffing, like you've got to have a genuine love of wanting to see people grow. Especially because it can be growing a business. It's growing like their values, their mission, everything. It's just passion. It's motivation. It's why we get up in the morning. And honestly, if you pick up the phone and hey, we'll go back to what I was just talking about, my friend's interview. Hey, hi, how are you? Okay, your name is blank, blank, blank. Okay,
Oh,
and you
no. Your name is.
okay. That person had no enthusiasm. They had no passion. They clearly, I don't know, there was a lack of commitment there. And passion, it's one of those things like you gotta realize why you wake up every day. And I mean, for myself, I still remember the first time like I called a candidate. I was like, you got hired. Okay. Like, and I'm still like, I'm still like grinning. Okay. Like my cheeks hurt so much because I was just so happy. And I was just waiting. I was like, oh my gosh, guess what? You got your dream job, or you got this, or like, but I still remember that. And so you got to think about like the highs, and every once in a while, not everything's going to work out, but that's where like you got to be passionate about connecting the right individuals with the right opportunities. Because like I said before, we have the opportunity to change people's lives.
Absolutely.
And you, like, for me, I'm like, that's just a point of passion.
Yeah, and I think a lot of recruiters and hiring managers sometimes forget to share that passion with the candidate, to tell their story of why they're here today interviewing you. Um, you know, I got into staffing by accident. Um, and I was in retail management consulting. I had 500 employees, like, just loving life. And then life took a turn when we had my second child, my daughter, who's got a rare genetic condition. She's only one of 20 known people in the world that have it. And I was on the road 3 weeks out of the month, and I knew I needed to be home. And so I called my executive coach at the time and was like, I've got to get out. I need to find a 9 to 5. I don't care if it's a banker job. Like, I got to be home every night for my family in this time of crisis. And like all of us have things like that in our lives. And he's like, "Have you ever considered staffing?" And I'm like, "You mean those guys that I hire to remodel a store and only half of them show up?" Like, no, no, thank you. And he's like, "No, you should consider it. It's a lot like retail, and it's service based, and I think you would enjoy it." So he introduced me to, told me about a company in Utah, and I met with them, and I got into staffing. Had lots of fun. My first 2 years, grew the business like crazy. I was a bull in a china shop, learned some hard lessons there. And 2 years in, I'm thinking to myself, this is fun, but I haven't found my why. I'm going to get out. And so I'm starting to put some fillers out there over the next couple of months. And then this thing called COVID just came out of nowhere. And the country got shut down. And I'm thinking to myself, I am going nowhere. I'm staying put. Like, this is too crazy. But I still didn't find my why. So it was really unfortunate that, here I am in an awesome industry, doing well, but I haven't found that passion. And so later that year, I had a customer, medical device customer, that we were having a really hard time staffing, low wages, strict GMP requirements, strict hiring requirements. And we had 200 and plus openings in the building for months on end, couldn't get them filled. Because of their COVID policy, they had on average about 250 people absent at any given time. And so this plant is short about 500 people. And these are medical devices that people need to live. And I get an invite for a meeting with the leadership team where, they start discussing with me the current situation where, like, people's lives are on the line if we don't get these positions filled. And so, Steven, help. What can you do? And I'm like, hey, raise your wages by $4 an hour and I'll get all those positions filled. And it's like, sorry, we have fixed costs, government contracts, can't do that. I'm like, okay, well, that sucks. And so I get off of that call, and that was the first time in my adult career that I just broke down and cried after a meeting like that. Like, I get out of a meeting upset, try to figure things out, but first time I just started crying. I just felt like the world was coming down on top of me, and I felt like I was responsible and I'm accountable to fixing this, and I need to figure it out. And so I wrestled with it all night, met with my team the next morning, and I shared the information with them. And I'm like, guys, we got to figure this out. Like, I don't care if we have to shuttle people from the moon. Like, let's figure this out. And one of my managers was like, I wish we could shuttle people from another state. And I'm like, let's talk about that. And we're looking at different states. And Wyoming, right next to Utah, big industries of oil, mining, and gas. They were still lights off, shut down. And so I called the branch manager there in Wyoming, and I'm like, hey, here's what we're doing. Here's what we're thinking. Here's $15 an hour, like, put people on a shuttle, stay in a hotel. Like, how many people do you think you could get us? And she's like, I can get you 1,000. And I'm like, whoa, okay, there we go. So we figured all that out. And I went back to this medical device company and I said, look, I can get you the people that you need. We're going to shuttle them in from Wyoming, put them up in a hotel, give them a per diem, all of that. It's going to cost you $220 per day per person, plus their wages. And so these are travel expenses separate from wages. So companies can justify those with different, tax laws. And they were on board. And so the next 6 months, we were shuttling people from Wyoming every single day. And we hedged off a major crisis. And I remember the director of HR at the end of this, when we were sunsetting the program, she reached out to me and she said, "Stephen, I don't know how to tell you this, but you saved people's lives." And she's like, "What you and your team did is just truly excellent. I can't thank you enough." And here's the second time I'm crying.
I'm just like, I'm so glad I wore waterproof mascara. I'm just like, oh, see,
and
I'm verklempt.
It was that moment that I found my why, my passion. It was like, I don't care what happens to me in the future in this industry. There is no other place I want to be than here, doing this great work, helping customers, changing people's lives. And so I share that story with a lot of candidates that I interview, because I want them to know that, it's not just about our mission and our vision and our values. Like, this is how I look at our industry. This is how I look at the world, and I want to help change people's lives every single day. And I think that needs to be stated for anybody that's recruiting people. Share your why, share your passion. And if you haven't found that doesn't mean you need to just call it quits and leave. I challenge you to go and find your purpose, find your passion, find your why.
Exactly. I'm just like, I'm verklempt over here. Talk amongst yourselves. I'll give you a topic. Rhode Island, neither a road nor an island. Discuss.
So let's move in when it comes to passion.
Yes.
How do we like tease out the candidate's motivation and their passion?
Okay. So honestly, you got to figure out, like, what is it that drives the candidate? What is it? Okay.
Is that by asking them, like, directly? What
No.
drives you?
No, you got to think about it. It's like, what is it that drives them? Okay. Some people could just be like, oh, monetary purposes. Okay.
It's fair.
But like I said, it's like, you got to get to know people. You got to talk to them. And the most important thing that you can do in both sales and in recruiting is listen.
Okay? Tell me more.
And so it's like, oh, okay, great. Even if you ask them, it's like, hey, what are your hobbies? Oh, okay. What do you like to do in your free time? Okay, obviously, I'm starting the botanical gardens here.
Is that what that is?
No, yes, they're all
I
real.
thought that was a green screen.
They're all real. But so obviously, I'm very passionate about gardening, and I love doing it. It's something that makes me very happy. And so it's just, when you ask someone about something, or if you find out, it's like, hey, no, it's like you learn a little bit about their family. Okay. Oh, great. Okay. With your family, anything that we need to know when it comes to scheduling that, like schedule X, Y, and Z, because you can go and ask like pretty loose-ended questions, but you can find out a lot. And then it's like, oh, well, okay, you got to pick up your daughter. Oh, how old is she? Oh, okay. Really? Oh, that's a fun age. And then you learn about them. What's her name? Okay. Oh my goodness. And then it's like, oh, wait a minute. So you're coaching their soccer team, and that you get to actually knowing people, and people, they will go and show you what they are truly motivated about, because it may not be 100% what they're passionate, but what is their motivation to work?
Right. When you hear someone that
big force. And so you got to find out what's interesting for them. What are their top priorities? What are their top needs?
Yeah. Yeah. I really like what you hit on when it comes to, they're talking about their hobbies, what they're passionate about outside of work. And, you have to ask yourself, okay, well, how does this tie into what we do? But it's like, oh, what you coach your kids' soccer team, you volunteer for these things. Maybe you're helping with some, Boy Scouts or Girl Scouts. And all of a sudden it's like, what this person's really telling me is they want a work-life harmony, right? That they want to have that flexibility. Yeah.
No, seriously.
And if part of your culture is you embrace and promote work-life harmony, it's like, wow, I just found some values that we're aligned on.
100%. And what, it takes an extra 2 minutes, you know, that's all it really is. And I
Yeah.
encourage you, like you said, take that additional 10 minutes,
Yeah.
because what's motivating a candidate is what's going to drive them. And that's why they're there. They have a motivation, they have a need. Get to know them. And
Yeah.
that's where I've always been passionate. It's like, oh, okay. But anything else? What's your favorite color? Okay. Like actually getting to know people.
Yeah. Yeah. Like if you asked me my favorite color, most of my life it was blue. And now it's purple.
Yeah.
Because it's my daughter's favorite color. And it was the second color that she could only say in her vocabulary. First one was yellow, and now it's purple. And so everything in the house was yellow. Now everything's purple, even her hair. And we love purple.
I'm like, that's just too adorable. But like, I'm like, don't make me do this.
But yeah, I think finding passion in what you do and being able to share that. Also, as an organization, what are you passionate about? What are we working on? And seeing how that aligns with the candidate with what they're passionate about. And there's some values that we can align on, and that brings you one step closer to having a long-term committed individual that wants to help you reach your goals and as well as their own.
Absolutely. 100%.
All right, so we did people, passion. The third 4 P's of staffing from a marketing perspective is purpose.
Yes. Okay. You ready?
I am ready. Hit me.
All right. So, I mean, when you got to think about purpose, all right, it really involves like your core mission, your goals, right? And it's why the company exists and what we are achieving to like work for and strive for, right?
Yeah.
You got to have a purpose, right? What?
Yeah, like that guide, right? What's the overall like purpose of what we do?
Mm-hmm.
And that's you have to have a mission that drives your approach to staffing. You have to ask yourself as a company or business owner or recruiter, like, what is that mission, and how everything should be pointing to that mission, everything you do.
Exactly. And if it's not, then you got to scrap it or realize it does not fit. Okay. Unless if it's going into that direction of your mission of what you're doing, that's just gravel. Okay. Think about everything else that you're doing in like gold, diamond, platinum. Yeah. All right. And then you got like copper and rubies. If you have something that is not directly, that you can't figure out, if there's a weird squiggly line, no, that's gravel. Put it aside. That's not part of the mission. That's not part of the purpose.
Yeah. Our CEO, Reed Laws, we used to have a slogan, the right people, right people on time, something like that. I can't even remember, right? Just the traditional staffing, like, we're going to find you the people in the time that you need them. And, he recently, got the executive team together, and it was like, really, what is our purpose? Like, what is that key vision? And, he came up with, through simple human kindness and friendship, we have a place where every person is valued and progressing. That is our vision. So everything we do, and every conversation, every initiative, every new thing that we're working on, he always redirects us and says, does this point to the vision? Through simple human kindness and friendship, we have a place where every person is valued and progressing. It's not, hey, let's fill the right people on time the first time. It's not, let's get all our orders filled. It's not, get people hired, have a net increase. It's none of that. It's just through simple human kindness and friendship, we have a place where every person is valued and progressing. If what we're working on doesn't point to that, if the people we're meeting with, whether it's clients or candidates, if they don't fit into this mission, into this vision or purpose, then we're doing the wrong thing.
100%. And that's one of the reasons why I'm here, because you can go and create positive impact and think about how we can go and help transform someone's life, right? Oh, here, we started working, like you start off working in this role, they can get promoted or they can learn a new skill set, right? And here's an additional class, or here's a couple things over here. Would you like to, I want to say the word understudy, but like, you know what I mean? Follow and learn. Okay. Like in that way, you can go and help transform someone's skill level.
Yeah.
And like, that's leveling people up. And if that's one of the best things that you can do in life.
Yeah. Couldn't agree with you more. And so any other words on purpose before we move into placement?
Well, I think we just got to kind of think about just one more thing when it comes to purpose. Like think about our impact, right? And our purpose is the way how we impact people, because it can contribute to both success and growth within both candidates and clients, right? Just to kind of go and sum this up really quickly. And then also just thinking about alignment and how this is going to lead into the next thing, which is what?
Placement.
Yes. So think about how it is our purpose to go and align the needs and expectations of both our candidates and our clients. Bum, bum, bum. Let's talk about placement.
So that's the net result of the first three: people, passion, and purpose.
Mm-hmm.
So the last P, placement. Tell us about it.
All right. So when you go and you think about placement, you got to think about just the strategic and effective positioning of what we do with our candidates and how it impacts and contributes to the overall value for our clients as well, right?
Yeah.
And you want to ensure that you have your candidates in the right position, in the right place, and that they're successfully placed in a position that matches their skill set, their career goals, and their culture goals, like things that really matter to them.
Yeah.
Because how do you prevent turnover? You want to keep your people happy.
You want to keep them happy. Yeah. Yeah. It's very strategic. It's got to be beneficial for both parties. It's not just a one-way contract. This is a contract between a company and an individual, and it goes both ways. And you have to be aligned. When it comes to the staffing strategy of placement, it's after you find the right person, it also matters how you place that person, right? The efficiency in that process. Yes, we need to be thorough and make sure we've got all, everything checks out. But doesn't mean we've got to take our time. We've got to be efficient. We've got to be quick, because we're not the only company looking for a great individual like this. And so you've got to learn to also build this whole process to be more efficient, so you can hold on to that individual and get them on board.
Oh, process efficiency. It's so important. And just to kind of put in layman terms, people got to eat,
Yeah.
People got to eat. And that's something like I've had to break it down as basic as that. And that's where, when it comes to that, like time to hire, how long does it take? What is your conversion ratio? Okay. When can this person start? And actually, one of the most fantastic things that I found out about your employment solutions is that if a client actually has a different pay structure than what we would traditionally have, we actually will go and get our associates on board on the same one, because if they do transition over to a full-time role there, they're not going to have to miss a beat.
Yes, mirror their pay cycle.
I find that to be amazing, but I mean, efficiency, and especially in times like this, you never know what's going to happen. So you want to make sure you keep that really good talent and you connect them with the right people.
I have a pop quiz for you.
Oh no.
How much time do you have to reach a candidate that applied to a job in your mind before you start losing some?
Oh, honestly, back when I was recruiting, it was like we actually had like KPIs on this. We had to reach out to people within 2 hours.
Yeah. So I read a new stat that said you have 10 seconds to reach your top candidates before you lose 8% of them. 8% in 10 seconds.
Oh,
and then it drops down to you lose 40% within 2 minutes. Like 8 seconds to 2 minutes. I may have some of the numbers wrong, but it's pretty close to that. And I thought, wow, like, because the job market that we're in today, you post a job and you're getting hundreds of applicants applying, and you got to see them quickly and find the right ones that are a good fit, that stand out from the rest. And according to some of this new data, you've got about 2 minutes to do that.
Oh my goodness. All right. You're going to have to share that with me, because like 2 hours, that's kind of the pushing it. And that's including like the average of, okay, you work a 9 to 5, you go home, you wake up. Okay. Because once you get new people into the funnel, you do want to be tackling it, but there could be people who applied, I don't know, at midnight. There could be night owls like myself being like, oh, let me go look at this and apply.
Why am I getting a call from this company at 2 a.m?
All right, 201 or 102. Like, you know what I mean? I'm like, ooh, that would kind of freak me out. But honestly, I do want to see like the statistics on that, because honestly, it used to be 24 hours. Right. And that was just a few years ago.
Yeah. Well, if you think about it, you're online, you're looking at different companies, and you hit the apply button, and then you're continuing, right? You continue down to each company. And so if you hit the apply button and then 2 minutes, you get a call from John Viev saying, hey, I just got your application. I am really impressed with your experience. Do you have time to chat, or would you like to schedule an interview? But I'm really impressed. Like, I'd love to chat with you.
Oh, I would be really impressed with that. And if it was a bad time, I'd be like, okay, here, can we set this up? And most of the time it could be like, all right, no, I'm like trying to, I don't know, walk the dogs or something. I'm like, nope, let me just get more settled and in that mindset. But I mean, I would be very impressed.
Well, and as a candidate, exactly, you don't have the need to go and keep applying at that point. You're like, oh,
it stops right in the tracks.
Yeah, that's right. So, so efficiencies matter in the placement process. Measuring the success of your placements, of the attrition in your building. You know, you as a recruiter, it doesn't just stop with the job offer, right? You've got to see this all the way through.
Mm-hmm. And that's where you need to make sure you are following up. Okay. Even it's like, hey, on the first day, it's like, be like, hey, want to wish you all the best of luck. Blah, 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 blah. If you need absolutely anything. And then, you know, after like, or even at the end of the day, be like, hey, I'm just checking in. I want to see how your first day went, because if there's anything that is not fitting, especially within the first week, like you want to, I hate to be like this, but you got to be a little bit annoying the first week. Hey, I want to see how your first day went. Congratulations. And it's probably going to be beautiful, but maybe by day 3, they're like, you know, this actually isn't a little bit, this is a little bit weird, or it's not really lining up with what I thought it would be. And then that's where you have the like chance and the opportunity to be like, hey, Mr. Client, so with Mr. Candidate over here, we're noticing that there's something going on. Can you help address this? And then this way you can go and correct it and prevent like fast turnover.
Yeah, I remember I had a corporate recruiter. We both know her, Lisa Watson.
Yes.
You know, she when I first started at the last company that I was with, she called me on my first day and congratulated me, asked me if I had any questions, which I did. And she, of course, followed up. And then at the end of my first week, Friday, she called me, congratulated me, asked me if I had any more questions, and thanked me for considering this organization and being part of it and bringing value to the team. And it was such a neat experience. And it made me feel valued, made me feel like, wow, I made the right move.
Yes. And I had a very similar situation. And it was one of those things actually, because I had multiple recruiters talking to me because they were trying to figure out where I was going to go. Even someone who I maybe started off the process with, but I ended up with a different brand. Mm-hmm. And with that being noted, it's like, I got a call like 3 times that week. I got a couple of emails. I got like messages. It was actually really nice. And just that personal touch, even though it's just like 5 minutes of your time, following up, because that's how you're going to be able to measure and track what success you're having just then. And even in the like following weeks, I would go do like check in the next week. All right. Oh, hey, just want to make sure you're still having a great time. All right. And even on that 30-day mark, okay, even 6 months in, like honestly, just even send like a quick little text message being like, hey, I'll be like, hey, Steven, this is Genevieve. I just wanted to check it out and see how you're doing over there.
Yeah.
Let me know if you need anything. Still here for you.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the last piece of the puzzle when it comes to the 4 Ps is the placement is, that is just because you place them, it's your job isn't done as a recruiter. Like you've got to make sure that they are set up for success and there's ongoing support. And even though you're not their direct supervisor, you're not their trainer, it's like you still need to give them that support and congratulate them and let them know that you're in their corner rooting. And you continue to check in with them throughout the next year and beyond.
Oh yeah, and that's kind of where it brings us all right back. All right, we went through
all circle.
It brings us all the way back up to the reason of why. People.
Yeah.
People matter, and it's so important just to build relationships and then maintain them. It's how we can prove our dedication and our purpose. And overall, like we can, like everyone as a whole, we can all achieve success and satisfaction. Yeah. All right. That goes for both candidates and clients.
Yeah. Well said. Yeah. All right, bring it home. So let's wrap it up. Let's recap the 4 Ps and some tips, and we'll call it a show.
All right. You want me to take it away? Or
Go ahead.
Okay. All right. So when it comes to the staffing version of the marketing 4 Ps, we are talking about the importance of people, passion, purpose, and placement. Your people matter. All right. You've got to have passion about what you do and why you do it. Your purpose. Why are we doing this? And what does this represent about us? And then placement. How do we make a beautiful full circle out of 2 sides of a coin?
Yes. And then those people that we just loved through the whole process, now that down the road, they'll be likely given an opportunity to do the same for someone else. And so we're setting that example, and it just comes full circle. You've said that a few times. It just comes back full circle. We continue to bring people into the organization through the right way with, focusing on people, the passion, our purpose, and how we take care of them through placement. So
100%.
Well said.
That's why we're here.
That's why we're here. So I want to thank everyone for tuning in. I want to thank Genevieve for being such an awesome guest today and just bringing the marketing perspective into staffing with the 4 Ps. And comment below if you've hit on any of these 4 or all 4. Share your stories. Love to hear them. And we'll see you next week on Friday. I've got our CEO, Reed Laws, who will be talking about the workforce gap in the coming years. And the birth rates have been declining and what that looks like when we reach 2030, 2035, 2040. and how you can prepare for the future workforce, or I should say, lack thereof, and how to hedge against the future to make sure you've got the right people and you can grow your organization. So tune in for that next Friday. All right, John VF, thank you.
Nope. Thank you. Thank you for having me on. It was a pure pleasure.
And we'll end the show with a message from our sponsor.
Six months ago, I get a call from Steve Farrell, who wants to talk about partnering with Yes for our labor needs. It would
change your approach to staffing.
I told him I've already used multiple agencies and have had headaches with each one. So my approach to staffing is just fine.
With multiple agencies, we thought we had our staffing needs covered.
Hey, the agency employees didn't show up, so we're short on staff again. I'm sorry.
Bupkis. Curses. Fetch.
Hey, an agency sent an employee.
Do you have production experience?
I've produced YouTube videos. I'm hungry. When's my first break?
This is not sustainable. If you want happy customers and a healthy business, something's gotta change. So yes, we tried Yes.